welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? Not too bad. Not too bad. I don't think I told you this, but my grandpa died on Christmas Day. Yeah, he was 100 in October. My youngest son said, he goes, wow, he says, he was 100, but he also got to celebrate, or he also was there, you know, had 100 Christmases also. And I said, yeah, that is really cool, because my youngest one was born after Christmas, so he's going to have to be a whole 100, almost 101 to make 100 Christmases. When my cousin's son went up to talk about my grandpa, he said some really funny things. He would tell people that his doctor told him to give up bacon, to quit eating bacon, you know, because it's bad for you. And he'd sit there and watch your reaction, and then he would go, but they're all dead and I'm still here, so I'm eating bacon. When he was able to walk downstairs to the basement, he would he'd go downstairs to go to the bathroom, but he always had a beer. I don't know where he hid them because the kids never found them, but he would have a beer while he's in the bathroom because, you know, my mom, you know, she wasn't going to go check on him when he was in the bathroom, so he'd have his beer. And then later on, he would have this big thing of cheese balls. He would have that behind his recliner, you know, so that when he wanted to snack, he would just, you know, take out his cheese balls. I don't know if he ever had his beer upstairs, but, oh, yeah, yeah. There were some really good memories, and it was really cool to hear some of the things that I didn't know about, you know, growing up from my aunts and uncle, and so it was really cool, amazing. In my Valentine collection, I did not leave out the guys. This bar is specifically for the guys. I mean, the other ones are good too, you know, but this one is for the guys. So 3 things: be kind, be forgiving, and be you. And let's go check out Pepper Me with Kisses. Okay, into our soap. This one is called Pepper Me with Kisses. And this soap had been in my mind for a good long time before I finally decided to execute it, the process. It is fragranced with black pepper fragrance oil by Wholesale Supplies Plus, which is why the name is Pepper Me with Kisses. Very appropriate for Valentine's Day, don't you think? So let's see. We have kale and clay in there. We have a smidge of cocoa butter in the oils. And not much else fancy-dancy going on. Aside from, you know, the regular stuff. So let me explain my process for this, or my, you know, picture of this. It is supposed to be a black ombre pour with red mica lines in between each layer. Okay? Now, I think I could have done this a little better. You know, after doing it, it was like so many other options came to mind. But this is how I did it. So I was pouring off approximately 13 ounces for my tall skinny mold per layer. And then I'm on my itty bitty scale just to make sure I wasn't putting like the same amount. Next time, actually, I'm going to make it very differential, like definitely more mica between, and not such a trying for a very close ombre, right? But so my itty bitty scale to measure my black oxide, which is what I'm using to color it. Why not activated charcoal? Because activated charcoal would take a lot more than the black oxide would, and I just decided I was going to do the black oxide and not the activated charcoal, which is another option, of course. And then using my itty bitty little mixer to blend it into some soap, and then blend it into the bigger batch. It's funny, that's what you do with like lemon meringue pie. You put some of the hot stuff into the eggs, and then you put the eggs into the hot stuff. Otherwise, you'd have scrambled eggs in your lemon meringue pie. Yeah, but so yeah, that's what I did. I was using the soap batter to disperse the mica, and then putting it into the bigger batch of mica. And it's so fluid when it starts out. It's of course it is, because we're just starting. But yeah, it does get thicker as the layers go. And there's only 4 layers. Well, there's 3 ombre layers, and then you'll see. But so that is my thought process. So for the first layer, 13 ounces, I put 0.014 ounces of black oxide. And then comes the fun part of doing the mica line. I used Firecracker Red. That is from Nurture's Homemade. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have a note, a post-it note that has the name on there, so I quit forgetting what it is. Because, of course, look at my mold. It says Nurture Soap. That's the old name. Okay, so you can see it's chunking up a little bit more there. Needs a good mix. But same thing, putting some soap batter into the little cup. I'm kind of freaking out here because I'm like, I'm going to have big chunky stuff. But it all works out, right? So this layer has 0.011. So not a huge difference there. And yeah, like I said, so many other ways to execute this and make it better, but that's okay. It's fine. That's what I was doing. And so, yeah, and of course it's chunky there, and so getting it in there and then mixing it up, and it's a process that you get to watch. That you get to see all the things. Yeah, I was just impressed that, it worked. I mean, but look how that's set up already with my mica line, I'm just pouring it on there. So a little bit of an acceleration, but you got to figure the time into, do the black oxide. And then mica lines always take me a good hot minute. I got a mess going on, guys. They do. They take me a pretty good hot minute because, I want a really nice mica line in there. And if you ever put it on too heavy and you think it's too heavy, just spray it with rubbing alcohol before you put your next line on, because that'll help it disperse and spread out and the soap to stick to what it needs to stick to. Yeah. Don't ask me why I'm pouring it out of that thing. That was a whole nother story. But, okay, level 3. Because sometimes I get a lot of questions from guys, and they're like, well, do you make any guy soaps? But guy soaps, it's not really guy soaps, it's masculine scents is what it is. And some guys don't like masculine scents. It's amazing, and some don't like scented soap, and so therefore this is a very nice scented soap, absolutely, for a guy. And is there a girl out there that might like it? Of course. So, but I don't always do specifically a masculine scent in all of my groups that I make, my collections or whatever you want to say. But this one, I just, like I said, I've been planning it from last year already. Like, I'm going to get the black pepper fragrance oil. I'm going to, call it Pepper Me With Kisses. And then the design was, a process over the year. The only thing I did different, so way back when I did the milkshake soap, it was in the rodeo soaps. It was a bowl, named Milkshake. And I wanted to do this, but I absolutely forgot about it. It was the black pepper fragrance oil with bergamot essential oil. And I really liked that scent. And I had so many people, men, women, children. I had one child who just loved that scent. I mean, he kept coming over at the vendor show and he's like, telling me he was going to buy that soap because his mom was coming. She was coming. I'm like, okay, I was going to actually just give him the soap, but she did actually show up and, they purchased a bunch of soap. And so it was all good. But he did get his soap and he just thought that was the best fragrance he had ever smelled. And it's funny because people would pick it up thinking it's going to smell like a milkshake, maybe strawberry, vanilla, I don't know. But yeah, it was not. It was the black pepper with bergamot essential oil. Or bergamot. I think it's bergamot. I think that's the correct way, is to leave the T off. What do I know? Right? My husband always says, I flunked language class. We always called it language. Now I think it's English. I don't know what it is anymore. But whatever. I speak English. I don't. Fancy words are sometimes beyond me. But so for this top layer, I didn't do the same. I gave it a different top. I blended some black, I blended some white, and then blended it into the white and left it streaked, which was actually kind of cool looking. Yes. And I was thinking of putting like little baby lips on top, but just thought, no, we don't need baby lips. Sometimes, less is more. I've seen some soaps lately that it's like, it's way more, but less is more in this bar. So the red mica on top, and then we just gave it some squiggles and really swirled it in there. I thought it looked cute. Yeah. You can always, you can overplay the top of a soap bar, but sometimes it's just so much fun to play with a soap bar. But here we are the next day. Looks pretty good. The ombre part isn't that bad. It really isn't. But like I said, maybe more definition next time. But who can complain? It actually, turned out fairly well. I don't know what the top part is. The swirled. I don't know. It was part of the plan. It sounded good. It looks good. So, yeah, this one, interesting enough, didn't overcook, if you want to call it that. I didn't have a lot of where it looked like it really heated up, like I did with the Angel's Orchard. But that was okay. Yeah. But it was, it's funny. It doesn't matter how old somebody is when they die, because, my grandma was in her 90s, and both grandmas were in their 90s, and this grandpa was, 100, and, it doesn't matter because it's still sad. My grandson said it best. He said, we won't ever see him again on this earth. And I said, no, we won't. But yeah, so it's sad. I was glad, he wasn't in any more pain. He was, he was always complaining about pain. Probably ever since he was a kid, he was complaining about pain. But yeah, he, so there's always those, good things about it. But, it's still sad to see them go. Yeah. But anyway, he would have loved this soap. I know he would have. Oh, but anyway, here are the fragrance notes for these Pepper Me With Kisses bars. Here are the soaps right when I cut them, and here are the bars when they are totally cured. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by, and I will see you next time, and God bless.